In accordance with the Texas Attorney General's opinion, any public comment that is made on an item that is not on the published final agenda will only be heard by the City Council. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comment will be made by City Council. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. Melody Wright.
Good evening. Happy holidays. Hopefully you all got an email from me last week. I'm here to talk about the Round Rock Community Choir, the Sounds of the Season holiday concert this Saturday at 7 p.m. It's a free concert, and I just wanted to let everyone in Pflugerville land know about it as well if you're looking for some arts and some holiday music. Doors do open at 6:30 because it's free. There is a long line. So if you want to come at 6:30. It is funded from a grant from the city of Round Rock with their hotel tax money. So hopefully sometime in the future, Pflugerville will also be able to fund the arts in that way. But I do have invitations for each of you guys. And if you're not able to make it, perhaps you can let other people in your circle know about it to get people there. We also do have a concert on April 20th. And so there's 3 concerts a year in fall, spring, and holiday. So just wanted to invite everyone.
Thank you, Melody.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, and forgive me, I'm going to do my best to pronounce this name, Krishna Pajigola.
Good evening, everyone. So we come from a community called Liso. We are close to Welch Branch. So we have a concerning issue there where we have a very bad order coming like almost 3 or 4 days a week. And the order is one thing, I mean, we can deal with it, but we are not sure where it is coming from and what are the health concerns of it. So we have been sending emails out to the city asking for help, but nothing has been done on that issue till now. So we would like your attention into that and try and help us resolve the issue. So everyone in that community is being affected. It's just it's happening like more than 3 or 4 times a week. So that's we wanted to raise it to your attention and try and solve it and help us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Krishna, we have your phone number here. I'll have somebody reach out to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Our next item is reading of the consent agenda. Council, any items you wish to pull?
Mayor, I want to pull 4I as in Idaho.
Okay, 4I. 4C and 4J. Okay.
I'm just waiting. We're counting over here.
All right.
That's it, right?
Krista, you may read the consent agenda.
Jim, did you have?
He had
I
one.
pulled I.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead,
All right,
Krista.
so items 4C, 4I, and 4J have been pulled.
Correct.
4A, approving an ordinance on first and final reading with a caption reading an ordinance of the City of Pflugerville, Texas, adopting the First Amendment to the FY24 budget for the City of Pflugerville and providing an effective date. As a reminder, items 4C, 4I, and 4J have been pulled. All remaining items may be acted upon in a single motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve.
You need cough drops.
And I'd love some. Yeah, you got some cough drops? I like butter. Oops, hold on. All right, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll come back to those 3 items. Thank you. Our next item is conducting a public hearing and consider approving a resolution regarding community development block grant consolidation annual performance and evaluation report for program year 2022.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this item, again, is for the
Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, otherwise known as CAPER. This is something that we do on an annual basis, and it's basically a report card to be able to identify the things that we said we would do and where we're at in the program year for this item. So this one is for program year 2022, which ran from October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. What we included in that program year action plan was to look at infrastructure and then also to look at programs. Our infrastructure was to look at the streetlights and looking at opportunities for adding streetlights into areas that did not have those, such as the Windermere subdivision, Skyview Manor subdivision, Watson Park. Those are different areas that meet our threshold requirements and also need to have those types of improvements. So we allocated $207,300 towards that program. We are continuing to work with Encore to be able to get that moving. We had originally thought that we could maybe look at Parkview Drive area, Parkway Drive Street, and looked at opportunity for putting in some solar streetlights there. In further conversation internally with staff, as well as talking to a program, if we were to install a solar streetlight and then later wanted to remove that, that would be an asset that we wouldn't be able to do. And so we would need to look at, we've been looking at doing permanent facilities such as what you see throughout this city. What that also does is ensures that through our coordination with Encore, that the requirements for the maintenance and that type of thing would still fall within under our regular agreement. So the idea of doing solar streetlights on Parkway has been removed, and instead we've been looking at installing regular streetlights within those areas. I'm sorry.
So I'm very confused.
Yeah.
Why would we install temporary streetlights when we can install permanent
Correct. Right.
solar
And so
streetlight or whatever the option that we're looking at? Why
yeah.
why the necessity for considering them to be temporary?
Right. So a solar streetlight we could install and they could be there forever, and we could own and maintain those. What we were looking at was the options of making sure that it would take the city out of the ownership and maintenance of those streetlights, looking at what we have today under our agreements with Encore for regular streetlights and looking at doing those instead. And so we've been looking and working with Encore for the design in the Windermere subdivision and Skyview Manor, as well as the Parkway Drive subdivision.
And let's be clear, I think it's really important, you kind of said it quickly. Skyview was the area where the gentleman came to us looking to build whatever they were out there. And the residents came in droves and told us they literally have no lights down the street. So that's one of the dangers with that. So I really appreciate the look and progress on that. That's a big deal.
And so we have,
hopefully they hear that.
We have designs that Encore's already put together for us. We have not had to pay for those designs at this point. We anticipate to be able to put all of our funds into the actual construction of it. What we will be doing for that streetlight program is installing the bases that support the streetlights and installing the conduit that supports the infrastructure that's needed. And Encore will come through and pull the wire and install the lights themselves. So to date, we have not expended any funds at this point, but we anticipate to have those funds fully expended within this next year. And we've talked to our HUD rep about that.
So M&O for streetlights are under Encore's purview in your scenario.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that include the electric bill?
We pay the electric bill.
We pay the electric bill.
Yeah, we pay the electric bill, and then if somebody,
This is important because
The way streetlights are built.
so when they install the permanent solution,
yes,
then are we requiring that the new lights are LED lights?
yeah, that's our standard.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And that's where, in terms of looking at your M&O, you want to make sure that you're doing the most
What are we getting?
cost-effective,
Yeah.
most cost-effective solution.
And that's why we've pulled away from kind of looking at doing the solar streetlights
Sure.
on Parkway, because this is something that ensures we could get the solar lights out there and they would be up and operational. However, when we go through and, as you recall in our action plan and as one of the CIP projects is also to evaluate Parkway Drive from full construction. And so we don't want to install something and then have to uninstall it or put in something and then, okay, that's not going to work. And
That's your best argument. Your best
Right.
argument is
Yeah.
that we're still looking at
right.
the growth and development of the city
Yeah.
and our streets.
Yeah, and I think that preserving our vision of eventually upgrading all of our light fixtures, street light fixtures to LED lighting, I think that's advantageous for us as a whole.
On programs, so youth scholarships is something else that was allocated inside of our action plan. We had $10,000 that was set aside for youth scholarships. 16 individuals qualified for it. Of that, 7 individuals decided to take advantage of that amount of that funding. What's been dispersed to date is $715. We've gone back and we looked at this, and you may recall with the new action plan, also looking at expanding the scholarship opportunities so we can utilize those funds, making sure that if we put the money there that we're able to get it out there. We're also talking to park staff and trying to come up with some other options of how do we get the word out there a little bit more. Right now we do offer it when somebody's looking at a program. They're made aware of the scholarship opportunity there, but they also have to qualify under that.
So what's the target area for those scholarships for students? Where do they have to live?
So it's actually based off of their the low to mod income ratio requirements, and so they need to meet that piece. And we also talk with the school district, and there's the provisions with the school lunches type of thing.
Mr. Mayor, were you talking about the geographical area? So does it cover the whole city, or does it cover the whole school
Yeah,
district, or the
it's-
whole county?
It's
or-
within the city.
Yeah, it's within our.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so you could live in the school district, but as long as if you don't live in the city, you wouldn't be
Then it
eligible.
would not be eligible.
Okay.
So how are they advertising that for you?
I'm sorry.
Is that something that you talked about previously, or something that you actually did get that, coincide with that list to move forward on this, or something you're doing presently with the school district?
So with the school voucher, that's one of the pieces of information that they submit as identifying that they qualify into that. So that's something that they submit as when they're going through their scholarship
Okay,
application.
so my apologies. So what I'm hearing you say is that this is something that's currently
Yes.
done with the school district, and nonetheless, we still have only gotten 16 individuals.
Right, and there's 16 individuals that submitted to do a camp, do swim lessons, do one of the activities.
Are we leaving it to the school district to advertise to these
No,
kids, or how are we doing that?
no,
Or these families, excuse me.
yeah, these are families that are within Pflugerville that are interested in participating in like the fun camp or something like that. When they submit an application, they can submit an application for a scholarship. And one of the pieces of information that they submit to us is their income, and of which it could be one of those qualifying pieces is that they're on the free or reduced lunch
So
program.
correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
but 16 is up from previous years, isn't it? I mean, I thought for a while there, we were having a hard time even
Three or
getting,
four.
Yeah.
one applicant. And so for 16 applicants, and then you awarded it to, did you say 7?
7 of them actually.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
the
that's
16
actually
were
up from past
yeah.
years.
Well, we had COVID.
No, even before COVID.
No, this is
Pre-COVID,
no,
we were still
even-
lower than
even-
16?
No, Caesar's right. Even before COVID,
That is an improvement, but I think to the point that Rudy was making earlier, if we're only taking applications from people who are already interested in the program, and seeing if they qualify for a subsidy, then we've got a limited scope there. Is there something we can do to reach out to people who may have already written off the opportunity because they didn't think they could
Couldn't
afford it? Because those are the people who, they didn't think they could afford it, but hey, we've got this opportunity for you. If they're not even looking into it, they're not going to know.
bingo, because you're looking at a captured audience already, and I'm guessing like when you're about to pay, hey, wait a minute, maybe something pops up. I don't know how the software interacts with it, but the good part is that you're aware of coinciding that audience with what the audience of the school district is. So that's why I was asking who's doing the advertising. I was like, I would definitely. I mean, we have the Tuesday folders, Wednesday folders, and everything else, and then we get the emails from the school district. I mean, I would definitely advertise that in there with that, and then talk about the opportunity. Like, hey, listen, this is it, and by the way, you may qualify for free camp. Heck, even advertise it as free camp,
Yeah.
and then put the asterisk, and then put the little things in the bottom of that.
Yeah, and those are, thank you for bringing that up, and we'll continue to look at opportunities on how to expand.
And I'd love to see why those 9 people that put in an application decided not to follow up on there. I'm wondering if maybe transportation is a problem to get to and from wherever the program
That's
is being
right.
held.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and let me ask that question a different way. What were the reasons those applications were rejected?
They weren't rejected, they just chose not to utilize the funds.
Okay, so they were
They were
approved?
approved. 16,
Yes.
16 participants were approved for scholarship, of which
So 9 people just said, I
They-
know
9
I'm
people
approved, but I
didn't do it.
So
They didn't
thank
show
you,
up.
no.
They
Yeah.
didn't show up to the class.
They didn't show up. It's not that they are like, I refuse to take this money. They said, no, we're not.
So I wonder if
Participate.
they didn't
Right.
have rides or access
Right.
to, yeah.
Be interesting.
Or they, yeah. So as I understand it,
Could be time.
the main
Yeah, I'd better-
scholarship that we're offering is for the fun camp over the summer. Are there other opportunities for us to use this? You know, I mean, we're looking at $9,300 worth of funding that we didn't use. We left it on the table, so to speak. Are there other opportunities for apply those funds for, whether it be paying a water bill or other city things? Are there other things that we can look at that these funds can be allocated to?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we actually had a meeting today with our HUD rep, and we've been asking some questions of where are we at on timing on funds, and can we still expend funds because of this conversation we've been having with streetlights. And so we're going to continue to have that conversation to see if we can utilize this money in as we continue to go into the in January and into this next year. To reallocate it requires an amendment, and so we can do that. Further down here, you see with the utility billing assistance, that was something that we had offered for the with the COVID funds that we had received. What we found during that program is that, again, it was challenging to meet all of the requirements. You had to be low to mod income, plus the reason that you couldn't pay the bill is because of COVID.
And so
Sorry.
I know, no, I'm just going back to what he was saying, and I'm you're doing a good job of, articulating things moving forward. But to Jim's point, if we're looking at possibility of reallocation, I'm assuming an amendment isn't something that's too taxing for us to do, right?
Correct.
That's something we can go up and go in on that.
Yeah.
Have we been having requests for utility? I mean, because I've seen the emails personally from things, but have y'all been seeing emails about utility systems and some of these other things with that as well? And does the criterion have to match what the criterion is for CDB BG funding in general, or is it a criterion that we have ability to massage in certain ways to help make sure that we actually capture and support the audience that's at issue?
Yeah, I believe the answer to be that it's based off CDBG funding itself. You have to meet that low to moderate income. And then for the CV funds, it was related to the COVID. If for the regular CDBG program up above, if we were to do an amendment, I think you would still have to meet the low mod income requirements. The CV funds or the COVID portion of it, wouldn't be applicable. That would be something I have to go and research and talk to our head rep about and see if that would be an option. But I'm happy to have that. And that's something else. I'm sorry, something else just to look at for these next action plans too.
What's our utility billing assistance look like outside of the COVID program? What do we have, we've
Yeah.
all gotten a lot of feedback about the new water rates. I'm assuming that we will, in the coming fiscal year, have more requests for utility assistance than we did in last year. What programs do we have in place, and what can we do to to help people who are negatively impacted by that?
Yeah, I don't know the answer on that one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We send people to the Travis County program for utility assistance, and I'm not confident that that's factual, that you'll see an increase. We don't have many requests. I don't know if there'll be a.
I'm speculating that we'll have an increase in requests because we've had a significant increase in the water rates. But yeah, maybe people will just be able to absorb that, and then we won't have that additional. But, there are people who are on the edge, and we want to make sure that the people who are on the edge still get water.
The last item of these programs is the Workforce Solutions Program. They were also awarded funds in our conversations with them earlier this year. They actually were given a lot of funds, a lot of opportunities for. They essentially had too much money to be able to disperse it, and based on the limitations that we have on how the program can, how our funds can be utilized, how the CDBG funds can be utilized, it's limited towards the program itself. Transportation option is like a bus fare, childcare. At that point, they said that they had too many. They didn't need that additional funds. This is something that we're also having conversation again, just to see if they're still in that same boat, and is there still an opportunity to be able to provide some assistance now that.
So to be clear, you're telling them that here's money, it's for a specific portion of the population. They said, oh, well, thank you, but we already have too much money, and they didn't adjust their budgets to utilize those funds for Pflugerville Citizens for the allocation of that, but instead just said, thanks.
But no thanks.
Yeah.
Well, so the conversation was in roughly June, and is when we were having conversations with them of like, where are we at in the funds, and that was at that point they had enough programs in place that they were helping Pflugerville residents, but they didn't need additional funds at that point.
So,
Ooh, I never want to hear from them.
right?
We also have had conversations with them about making sure, because this is also something that's in our action plan for this for 20
Absolutely. And it's
for
something
this
that
next year.
they asked for and we worked for. I mean, Emily,
And-
when she was did an excellent job. I'm flabbergasted that they just were like, yeah.
And
thanks, but no thanks.
we're continuing to offer the funds, and then they will be programming them in. They anticipate to continue to be able to utilize them. So the conversations have been had, and we will also, as I mentioned, still continue to see if there's an opportunity to use those
Doesn't
funds.
PCDC does a lot of work with Texas Workforce Solutions.
They do.
And we often talk about how we want to do workforce training needs right there as well. Maybe that conversation.
But the applicants still have to meet that
Yeah.
income criteria,
Right.
correct?
And
We know they're there because the school district does the retraining at Northwest Elementary for the entire ISD. For anyone who's in the ISD, they can the parents. Yeah, I guess their parents come over and do the retraining. So it's after hours. So we know the need's there. I'm just really surprised by that.
Well, and that's what makes me wonder. So is the application process itself a barrier? In other words, do I have to prove up my income deficiency with 3 years of tax returns and an audit? And I mean, what is it? I mean, what are the requirements for the application? And do you feel like that in and of itself is a barrier? Is there a way to streamline that?
For Workforce Solutions?
For anybody that's trying to get these 16 applicants that we're
Yeah.
seeing to the CDBG,
So
any access to the CDBG funding
Yeah.
for scholarships or support, or is there just a barrier because of the federal red tape?
So I would say that the barrier is that you have to meet the low to mod income
The answer is yes.
thresholds. And so if you don't have a huge population in your community that meets those thresholds, then there's just less usage. I think is-
But I've heard statistics that say that up to 50% of our school kids are on free or reduced lunch. I can't think that the majority of those folks are outside the city limits of Pflugerville, and so I'm curious what's going on there.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if can we through an amendment, reallocate some of that funding in terms of providing an application concierge, right? If we have to hire someone using CDBG funding that says this person's designated to help you navigate the application process, much like the DAV does to navigate the VA. How do we increase access and availability of these funds to help people that clearly are in need?
I can look into that.
You're awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing. This is part of the process. It did go to Planning and Zoning Commission on December 4th, and they recommended approval of the CAPER. Comes to you tonight for the public hearing and consideration, and then later this month we will be submitting the CAPER to HUD for them to review and go through that process. As I mentioned, we're continuing to work on the streetlight project. That's not something that is over, but we are continuing to work on that. And then in this next year will be when we start our new 5-year consolidated plan. That is also something that we've allocated some funds through the administration process to be able to have some help for that. So.
And because you can use those funds in administration of the actual program too. Actually, ties right into this question. I know my mom and dad may not appreciate that since they live in Windermere, but could we start with Skyview first, given how how we
were
know.
you eating Christmas dinner?
That's true. That's true.
Not
I should
there.
say this later. But can I mean, just because we heard how dire it is out there.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
That reminds me, I had a conversation a few months ago with Congressman Sessions' office and told them how much money we were getting in CDBG funds. And the response I got was, "That's all?" Have we double checked to make sure that we're not eligible for any more CDBG money than we've been getting? And is that just because Pflugerville is a community with a very low poverty rate that we have such a low CDBG availability?
Based on our locations, yeah.
Okay.
Good and bad, right?
Oh Lord.
No, we just have.
All right.
Thank
Done?
you.
We're
Yes.
just a middle-class town.
Council, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody else here wishing to speak on this item?
Did you?
Nope.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to close the public
This
hearing.
side of the room's out of control. I just want to make sure I say that for the record.
You're always out of control.
No idea what you're alluding to.
All right.
Make sure that's.
Motion carried.
It's on.
I need a motion to
Move
approve.
approval of the resolution.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution.
It's awesome.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. All right, our next item is discuss and consider action to elect a mayor pro tem per city charter section 3.06. Oh, wait a minute, that was a period. I have heard from Mayor Pro Tem Wise, who has indicated an interest to continue to serve as Mayor Pro Tem. Is there anybody else wishing to?
I would also be interested in the
Okay.
role.
Okay. All right. So anybody else? Okay.
Oh, wait until next year.
All right, next year. So we could have a motion and a second on each
What did
one.
we say?
Next year.
Okay.
We can have a yay for one and a nay for the other.
No,
I'm
I don't know
joking.
how that would work. Trista, what do you suggest? Just,
Yeah, it's being affirmative.
okay.
Move to reappoint Doug Weiss as Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second that.
Do you have to, can you, oh, you get to vote for yourself.
I do. Do I have to make a stump speech?
Okay. Got 6 yeas and 1 nay.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've very much enjoyed stepping in when you're not available, Mr. Mayor, and look forward to another year of backing you up.
Thank you very much. Thank you for serving. And Mr. McDonald, there's always next year. Of course, Mr.
I've heard rumors. Seemed like we talked about that last year.
Oh, yeah.
6B, discuss and consider action to approve resolution appointing City of Pflugerville representative to the Central Texas Clean Air Coalition of the CAPCOG. Who is our current member? Or was?
So that's me.
That's you.
Although this one caught me off guard a little bit. As a member of the executive committee at CAPCOG, the Clean Air Coalition meetings are on a quarterly basis, but they follow the
Right,
executive
after.
committee meeting. And the folks over there at CAPCOG told me to just stick around for that. It is available to another member who is serving on the general council over there, the what we call the General Assembly. If anyone else is interested,
So they have to serve on the
they would need to be appointed to the General Assembly as well.
Well, let's,
But I would be willing to continue since I'm there for the executive committee meetings anyway.
That's why I was thinking about Caesar, because last time Caesar said that he was there, but he didn't really do much. I was like, this gives you something.
Yeah.
Well, I think last year we, or Mayor, if you want to take out of order, so we can have that conversation, the General Assembly discussion. 'Cause
Yeah,
I believe,
let's-
Caesar, you are no longer on the General Assembly. I
No.
believe it's Mayor
No.
and Mr. McDonald who are currently on the General Assembly.
okay. Yeah, let's take,
In addition to me.
take item C before we pass on
Okay,
6B. So that's an appointment to the General Assembly Council, and there's been typically, what, 3 members?
There are 3.
3. I have not been making those as of late, so I would be glad to opt out of that role. So that leaves an opportunity for others to step in. Jim, you were on there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you wish to
I
continue?
think I missed one of 4.
You want to continue, right?
Yes.
Okay, you want to continue,
Jim,
and you're
Sure.
interested.
Sure.
All right, that's 3.
All right. I move that we appoint
I'll step down.
myself, Jim, and Caesar to the General Assembly.
okay.
Second.
Okay, motion and second.
And then Caesar, would you
Yes,
like
I'd
to
love
be
to.
our Clean Air
Yeah,
Coalition
yeah.
representative?
That's right.
Okay. Going
With
back
that,
to
I'll make that
6B.
motion
Okay.
for 6B.
I want to
So
start
moved.
running more often. So.
Motion and second
You
to
All right.
appoint
more Clean
Yep,
Air.
Caesar.
Mr. Ruiz to the Clean Air.
You know, we have
I did.
the best water in Pflugerville. Might as well have.
Might as
in
well.
Texas, might as well have the best air, right?
There you go. We have some great particulate matter sensors even at the library.
Don't get me started on PM 3.5.
Right. Come on.
And
Okay,
maintaining.
motion carried.
attainment.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Moving on to 6D, representation to the Community Advancement Network, CAN Board of Directors.
And I think
Rudy?
Councilmember Holiday said that she's interested in continuing on.
I would like to remain on the
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
There we go.
Rudy's on there too, right?
Man, I've just been a bopper there for like 10 years. I don't think they know what a bopper means, so.
Motion carried. Thank you. All right, moving on down the road.
Oh, man, Doug, I may be right.
Okay, 6C, appointment to the Campo Transportation Policy Board.
I make a motion to approve Rudy.
Second.
And I believe the mayor is the alternate on that? Or is it any member as the
I think any
alternate?
member.
Mayor is designated alternate.
Mayor.
Alternate.
Yeah.
I thought it was Mayor Pro
I'll
Tem.
still like to remain the alternate. All right, what was the motion and second?
For Rudy.
Rudy, okay. My button doesn't work too well. Motion carried. All right, representation to appointing City Council Special Events Subcommittee.
I think you're on that, Mayor, correct?
Yep.
And Councilmember Holiday?
I would like
Right.
to remain.
All right. You both?
I'm good with staying.
Okay. Motion.
Motion to reappoint?
Yep. You said, I heard your motion say second.
Motion and a second. And motion carried, thank you. Okay, appointment to 60 to appointing the council members to the Facilities Committee.
Caesar and Jim right now.
We're currently on there. I've been on it 3 years. I'd be happy to step aside so that somebody else could jump on there. And I think, Mary, you expressed interest.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would like to be part of that. Yes.
I'm happy to remain there.
I make a motion for the mayor.
The only thing I was going to ask, do you have any interest?
I do, actually.
Oh.
Are you going to cause trouble?
Only good trouble, right?
Good trouble. Yeah, it just
don't know
runs.
about
Which
that good
one?
trouble
When I
Which
was
kind
on-
of trouble
Be
is he going to
careful
cause?
When I was on the Facilities Commission
This
last
is
time,
gonna not
I
be
pushed
good.
us to.
You did. You did. Our city hall would not be where it is
That's
today if
right.
not for you there. That's
So
right.
I would
You would
opt
see.
out of that then. Let Mr. McDonald and Mr. Rogers serve.
Can they play nice together?
Well, we can
Emily,
always-
you can have your hands
Yeah, that's true.
James?
If anything, this council has shown that they will remove if behavior is not appropriate. So, okay.
We
I'll
have
second.
taken that
Wait,
action.
what are you
fast.
making a second
Wait,
to?
oh,
To Mr.
Oh,
McDonald
the mayor
and Mr. Rogers.
That's not what I said.
Oh, okay. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
do we already have your?
She made a motion.
yeah, her motion
Oh,
was, her motion was on the
you
table.
interrupted
So what was her motion? I didn't.
It was the mayor and Jim.
Mayor and Jim.
That's what I said.
Okay, sorry, motion's on the floor.
Always next year.
Mayor, since you're on that motion, would you second it?
I'll second
I think he did, didn't he?
He already did. Yeah,
He
he
did.
did second it.
it. Okay, motion and a second.
And then Rudy said,
Yeah, Rudy was like,
I heard him
Want to
say.
make sure he's willing to serve.
I heard him say
Yeah.
discussion. You know, he seconded it, so that means he's
If he's willing
willing.
to serve.
Unless he's.
Come on, what's going on here? All right, motion passed.
All right.
Mr. Rogers,
Goodness gracious.
sorry.
Well, there's always next year.
There's always things.
Indeed.
rumor has it.
All right, so we are where?
H.
Yeah, 4I, or, well, so I guess we're taking them in order.
4C will be the first one
4C.
for consent. 4C is approving a water tower license agreement between the City of Pflugerville and Travis County Emergency Services District Number 2 and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
Okay, so the draft that was circulated was missing Exhibit B and Exhibit C. There's a cover page for both Exhibit B and Exhibit C.
And there is a
Exhibits
reason,
themselves are not attached.
yeah, there is a reason for that. Brent, if you'll briefly explain that. Thank you.
Okay,
So Exhibit B is their antenna equipment. It would be irresponsible of me that is safety or communication equipment that they use to be able to publish that on a public document, what equipment, what wavelength they're using to be able to do emergency communications. So that's something that we don't want to. It would be irresponsible of us to publish that on a public-facing document, which then gives it open to anybody else. For the survey piece, we have the northern and easting that is on Exhibit A. If you look at Exhibit A, Exhibit C is the essentially proofing up exactly what's already on the ground. They already have the building on the ground that's already there. We already have the northern and easting that's on there. Exhibit C is Exhibit C is us wanting to verify exactly those northern and eastings that we already have.
all right, then in that case, I move to approve 4C. Thank you.
And so, for any legal purposes, though, we have that information. So, if any liability issue concerns, we already know aware of it. We can litigate on it. So
We know their what they have, what their wavelengths are. We required it's in the
awesome.
Yes.
Second.
Okay,
Thank you.
motion and second on 4C.
And thank you, David, for actually checking on that contract.
I didn't spend 3 years in Lubbock for nothing.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Just kidding.
Okay, 4I,
4I is approving an update to the Deutschen Fest Committee resolution to establish the roles and responsibilities of the Citizen Steering Committee.
That was me. Yeah, I was reading through that, looking at it, and understand that we're creating an opportunity to codify, if you will, the responsibilities of the Deutsche Fest Committee. But I was wondering that if at this time we might also take advantage of including our second largest event in town, I think the Pflugerville Pride event, and giving that committee the additional oversight of conducting that, making sure it goes according to city plans.
Are we gonna, when we say oversight, are we doing, and we're going back to our lunch and learn, oversight in the way that either James or Serene, I can't remember who
Yeah.
described it?
I think it would be synonymous with what's articulated for the Deutschenfest
Okay.
in terms of establishing guidelines for responsibilities for the Parks and Recs and establishing responsibilities for the city. I know that Pflugerville Pride as a 401c3, and I don't see any of the members of the board here tonight. I know they've struggled. I know that their president has stepped down. They have an interim right now. She's struggling. I know that they have operated, they're still trying to collect funds. I won't name the companies, but it surprised me when I found out who hadn't followed through with the money that they had committed for a significant sponsorship.
So it sounds to me if we want them to continue to succeed, it would probably behoove us to have more of a role.
If we want to have a Pflugerville Pride next year, I think we're going to have to take a more active role in it, because I don't know. I'm concerned about the success, the future success.
I would like to, a couple comments. Slice of Pflugerville, I believe, is actually larger, and so I'm just going to give some definition. Pride is a permitted event, not a city event, put on. So it's a little bit different than you have Slice. One idea that we had pitched that might help where you're going, I'm not sure, but we had pitched a special events committee more holistically rather than specific to Deutschenfest. And I'll be honest, we talked about it in the Lunch and Learn, but I don't think it landed.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we wanted to incorporate not just Pride, but other festivals, we could look at a special events committee. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Slice and its size, as it's a city put on event, Pride being a permitted event, if that matters or not. Just trying to.
Well, and I appreciate you drawing that distinction, and I think that may articulate how Pride could be more successful. Having volunteers put together an organization versus paid staff clearly had a significant impact there. I don't know if that was the only impact, right? But yeah, and so I don't know that if in changing the scope of this committee to include Slice and Pride usurps the idea of a special events committee. It seems like I don't know that we're big enough to have like multiple committees for each event. I think one overarching committee would be sufficient. It gives you a lot of single points of contact and a lot better clarity, I think, just in terms of the overall how things are progressing or who's in charge of what.
So we're saying we are going to make this a city event, not a permitted event.
I wasn't suggesting either, just giving distinction.
Yeah.
But I think but I think that's
right.
what he's.
Yeah.
Now, does Pride want the city running the event? I don't mean to speculate. I think that's
I
important.
invited members of the board to attend tonight because I've been having conversations with them for the last 3 months. But they are, as I mentioned, and I don't want to belabor the point, but they are struggling. They have jobs, they have lives, they have, things going on. And it's a huge endeavor for basically for people to pull off.
So maybe, how about this? How about we approve this and then you have a meeting with Pride and Serena and them and then have about that and go down?
I've had those meetings, is what I'm
It
saying.
doesn't sound like the city has had those
Yeah,
meetings
that's what I was
with
saying
the
with
event
Serena.
coordinators.
Right, right.
And I would say, I think this Deutschenfest committee is very specifically purposed, and the individuals who serve on it are serving for that one event. I think what you're offering is to apply additional responsibilities onto an existing committee. I'd want to talk to the committee members first as well.
We're with the changing of the makeup of that committee with this ordinance, there's 7 members, and presumably we're each gonna get to pick one, so there'll be new members next week. So yes, to your point,
Yeah.
they'll know
For-
whether it's Deutschenfest or for 2 events, or for 3 events, or for all
And-
events. They'll know that next week when they interview.
Well, but many of the applications are already in.
The applications are all.
And so we are changing the rules in mid-game, so to speak.
Full disclosure, there are no applications currently in for the Deutschenfest.
Not a single one.
No,
And
I'd be
Well,
remiss
then,
if I
then
didn't.
there are no rules that are interfering with what
This
actual
would be the
establishment
time.
would be.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I think to Jim's point, he's hearing about this, have a meeting with him, Pride and staff, so they can hear specifically directly from them, so there's no assumptions made over here, even though I don't think that Jim's misinterpreting what's being conveyed to him. Past this, and then we have that whole idea, Serena. I like the idea of the holistic one, because, I mean, as we grow, I think that, honestly, that some of the stuff is going to fall on us because, just like you said, these volunteers, they got their lives, everything else from there, and these are important programs for our community to actually.
Well, and to that point, let me be clear. They don't have, and again, I've had many conversations. They don't have trouble finding volunteers day
The
of.
day of.
Day of, everyone is willing to come up, give me a free ticket. I'll work my 4-hour shift, whatever. No issues day of. Everyone's excited about the event. Everyone wants to participate. It's that 6 months of planning. It's that trudge leading up to and finding your sponsors and organizing the street plan and working with PD. It's that's the hard part. That's the grind.
I mean, it
Staff
makes.
does it.
Yeah,
I-
that's
I
the
do-
grind.
As somebody who helps put on the MLK March every year, which will again be January, it's coming near right there, and Juneteenth. I know how it goes.
I just want to say, I mean, I hope they have a playbook from last year because it was an incredibly well put on event.
But you know
I was telling people who were putting on other events, hey, you need to come and see what they did because they had some very ingenious ideas of how to run that event. So
But
I would really hope that they can pull off what they did last year.
But to Jim's point, just like running a soccer club or a football club, like I'm glad whenever football clubs is actually coming back, it's a house of cards. It just really is. Like there's usually like 4 or 5 people who do all the work, and if those people just walk away, it's totally screwed. And it's gotten to the point, to your point, it's gotten to the point where it's well known and well respected and established enough that it probably does need more professionals, for lack of term, to help take care of it during those issues. So.
Serena?
I don't want to overstep. I know my place, and I don't mean to deliberate, but I do want us to think about precedences that we set for many groups that ask us for events, and if they struggle, should the city be taking these on? And I just put that out there as I have to think about labor, resources, and how we put on these events.
I think it's absolutely a valid comment, and I appreciate it. I think that we need to, as a city, and looking at other cities and this, successes of their programs. I mean, we've got the Firecracker Festival. We just had the lighting of the tree and the holiday event and the parade that are city events. We're talking about setting the lake on fire. I hope still.
Please do.
I'm looking forward to doing that. And so Slice, Slice of Pflugerville that the city created is an opportunity for us to celebrate the diversity of our community and something that clearly the residents engage with. And I think that that Pride is an event that does so as well. Were it not for the group of volunteers that created Pride, I would have hoped that the city would have said, hey, let's create a festival that rivals Georgetown's or rivals Taylor's or Round Rock's or any of our neighbors, and do as well. I'm not saying that if we wouldn't have members from Pflugerville Pride that might not, once we hear about the changes and how we articulate this committee, that would then sign up in this next week, because now they know they've got the backing and support of the city, as opposed to trying to do it all themselves. And so I'm sure we would have members of that community and others engaged. But I worry, I guess, and maybe I'm just a worrier, I don't know. But I worry about the growth of the festival and what we're going to see next year.
Well, let me just add a little short narrative there as well in terms of, I appreciate, Jim, the fact that you wholeheartedly support the Pride Fest and the committee that so diligently put on an excellent festival. And you said they're struggling. I think that's part of the journey, because you look at the Deutschenfest committee that was in place for 25,000 years, and they started much like Pride with just a few people, and they kept going and going until it got to the point where it really became a very, very successful festival. So I would say that while they're struggling, I would hope that they're not giving up, because I think to Serena's point is in concern, and would be my concern, is that we start taking on Pride, we start taking on Black Pflugerville or Juneteenth. All of a sudden, we're a full-scale production company of festivals. I don't know that Shane has the resources to do all that unless we're going to add additional staff to do that, because the planning process is months and months and months. It just doesn't happen overnight. So I just think we need to be very cautious about that.
Well, what about our Cinco de Mayo festival?
Right.
Yeah.
What about our 4th of July parade?
Well, sure. I also think it's important that we get buy-in from those who are on the committee. Obviously, they have formed a 501c3. They have collected revenues. If it's a city event, booth fees, sponsorships, those aren't going to the charity anymore. They're going to the city. That's something. If we're running it, we're running it. So I think they need to understand what the difference is between them running an event that's permitted and us running a city event with their assistance, because it is quite a different economic impact on their organization, I'm sure.
Well, we basically have taken over the Deutschen Festival as a city event, and that's just different.
It seems like it. So I think
apples and oranges there.
I think we need to. I think we need buy-in from them after they understand the impact. I don't want to take over an event and then them be upset at us for taking over an event.
As was the Deutschenfest committee. as
Still.
different. And remind me how the history. You want to go through the history? No.
Okay. To just rouse out the conversation, before I say call to question, let's continue that conversation on that, because I agree with you, and I think that we do have to have a conversation about FTEs and everything else that goes with that. But I also will say this: part of our city's reputation, experience, growth comes with these events coming from there, because what we've been focused on, and I hopefully talk more in our retreat, is quality of life things, and these are the things that people will go for and work from there as well.
These events are important. They are.
Yeah, just like a 4th of July parade.
Yeah, I mean, we don't look at the X number of dollars that we spend on fireworks as a how do we gain that back from ticket sales to break even on the expense, right? If it weren't the city that was doing that, no 501c3 would come forward and do that firework festival.
All right. How did
We
you do
didn't-
that?
I think you might
how
get
did-
an
how did he
argument
make
about
it
that
green?
from the veterans.
This is green.
Yeah, how did you make it green? All right,
turned
call
his
the
mic
question.
Was there a motion?
There's no motion.
Oh, there's no
There's
motion. Motion to approve.
4-I.
4 ayes presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve 4-I.
I was just wondering how Caesar was able to vote before we even had anything on there.
He actually had a different green. It wasn't. Well, I think we've changed colors here. Who's missing? Mr. Rogers. Okay, motion carried. 1 no vote.
All right, the last item is 4J, approving an update to the Finance and Budget Committee resolution to change the term from 2 years to 1, removing the financial expert requirement and removing the authorization to hire outside counsel or consultants.
So I'm just curious why we're moving the authorization to hire outside consultants. I'm totally fine with, limiting limiting counsel to the city attorney. I just want to know why we're not letting the Finance and Budget Committee have the option to bring in outside consultants to explain whatever they find that they think is irregular, that they're not happy with the explanations they're getting from city staff.
I
don't know that they.
Yeah, I don't know if we've
I've never
ever
seen
done
an
it.
instance of that happening,
Yeah.
but I want to know why we're taking away the option.
I think we were recommending that as a policy decision. Do you want to lay board hiring consultants to? We as a staff hire financial consultants. I think it was maybe something that had been in there and we didn't know the intent, nor had it been done before. I didn't know if maybe
So have
somebody
they
had.
hired consultants in the past?
No.
I didn't think so.
Did they know they could?
I don't think they knew.
Yeah.
It's in the
Like,
resolution.
did they
It's
even
in-
think like, hey, we
I
need to
mean-
hire a consultant?
If they did, would it be at their own expense?
No.
No?
No,
The
it'd
city
be
would pay for that.
David Rogers
Which
would
seems
pay
a little
for it.
strange for us to.
Yeah. I don't know. Interesting.
Just the idea of
Just
hiring
doesn't
somebody
seem like a
extra
best
to check the
practice.
homework in the unusual, or as
So-
far as I know, unprecedented.
'Cause you
event
have
that
an
there was a
audit.
problem with the homework.
Right.
So Serena, we already have third-party auditors.
Yes, we do.
And I'm just wondering.
And
I'm
a third
trying
party
to-
FA.
I'm trying to think how this, how this even came to be.
I don't know. It was before my time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the intent was. We haven't seen it in practice. We use third-party finance quite a bit. We're happy to hear opinions. I just give caution at having a lay group use city funds to hire third-party without any review of.
So they could still
I'm just-
petition council
Sure.
for that, and council
Sure.
could
Then we
direct
can,
the
then we
hiring
can
of
direct
one.
staff
You
to go
could.
do that. The only question I had is that when we had our lunch and learn, we talked about financial expert, and do we require everyone to be one, or was it just one?
We were requiring one, and only a financial expert was eligible to be chairman of the committee.
So I don't know about chairman, but I don't think it hurts to have.
How do we define financial
Yeah,
expert?
that's the
Yeah.
question.
Well-
is that I want to know how we've been doing all these.
We
had a CPA?
define it by
You got a
when we
CPA?
appoint them,
Okay,
yeah.
But we know that that
CPA
doesn't-
qualified, but that wasn't the only.
Or
But
commensurate
it doesn't mean
experience,
anything,
but I
though.
think
That-
as we
yeah,
appoint people to it, we determine.
You're
We're
making
the
the
finders
you're
of
making the
fact.
point. You're making the point that everyone's talking about is
Yeah.
that like we never really defined it outside of, hey, do you know how to read numbers? Cool. Okay.
Right, are you an accountant?
And I think,
Are you
Do
a finance guy?
Do you own an abacus?
I think there's a higher standard than that, but I appreciate where you're going with that. But I think it's somewhat ambiguous to allow for council to have discretion, right? I mean, we're not a litigious body that's looking for the letter of the ordinance. We want to follow the intent, and the intent is that someone knows what an abacus is, but may not own one, right? Maybe they've done bookkeeping before, or maybe they're a bookkeeper, or maybe they're a CPA, or maybe they're a CFO. But I think it's a standard that's fluid, that allows us some discretion and guidance in terms of, oh, this is finance and budget. This person should have some wherewithal and understand budgeting and/or maybe not public finance, which we understand is significantly different than private finance,
Which was the big
but
argument.
but at least has some understanding of that. Maybe they taught a class. I don't know, right? But that's where the standard of financial expert, I think, is fluid and somewhat allows us to make that discretionary judgment.
So would you be in favor of keeping the financial
I,
expert?
I would suggest that we keep the financial expert.
If,
I mean, it's one person.
if you have a financial expert, well, I don't know.
I'd be in favor of keeping that standard for all members of the body, because
Well, we've
because-
never had that standard for all members of the body.
well, no.
I think we
Now,
might have
now,
it
because I literally was on finance and budget like in 12 or something like that, and I definitely did not have a CPA background. So yeah, it wasn't for
But
everybody.
again, that's the standard isn't that you have a CPA background.
well,
right?
but
I think
but,
the standard is that when we appoint people to this committee, we need to be comfortable with their capabilities.
I mean,
So whether it's in writing or whether it's direction from us at appointments, it seems it's, 6 1, half dozen the other.
Well,
I don't know that it needs to be in there because I think we need to make sure that the people we appoint are qualified. And being qualified may be meeting a list of requirements, or it may be their experience that they can articulate.
I'm just going to reiterate what I said last time during our lunch and learn. We just have to be serious about who we're appointing to every one of these committees. We just do. It's not something that, hey, we like this person. It's like, will this person do the job and show up? And crazy concept. Listen to staff. When staff says we want you to go out in the community and actually go and articulate things.
Empty seats are better than the
Anecdotal.
wrong seats.
Or require a credit check, just to make sure they have good credit.
I think that's a good point. We have to be prepared
Just
to leave
saying.
our seat.
they need a credit score above 850.
No crimes of moral turpitude, right?
Well, that should be.
I would, I would say there is one thing in here that I thought we had discussed in the lunch and learn that didn't seem to make it in here. As we're changing the term from 2 years to 1, the term limits on here are 3 consecutive terms. That reduces from
6 years.
from
to
6
3
years to 3 years. So I would be in favor of making that at least 4
I thought we
consecutive
said 4.
terms.
So our charter does not allow more than 3. So you could make it into, right, so the only reason we didn't go with it is
So we
because
could
the
make it a
charter.
1 and a third
That's
year
fair.
term?
That's why.
That's right.
You could, say that
We
again.
could make a
Terms,
1 and a
15
year,
months.
third year term so that they go for
Don't-
4
Now
years.
you're a
Roll,
trouble.
roll your eyes at his comments.
Yeah.
Okay, roll his eyes at your
You can
comments.
roll your eyes. That's fine. That's
I
fine.
think anybody
trying.
putting up
It
with
took a
3
minute.
years of finance and budget is.
Oh, look at you! Look at you!
3 years is
You
more
don't
than
think
enough.
Melanie Ryan, like she eats this stuff for breakfast? All right, motion. Oh wait, do we?
Did we resolve?
Well, that's the thing. Do we want it as is, or do you want to make amendments to it? To what's presented.
So do you? How hard or how serious are you about this financial expert thing?
I think it's important. The Finance and Budget Committee, so I don't know.
Okay, one person, right? Since we've
Can
never
I
had.
use an example, because we have an application? So would someone that is a small business owner qualify for that? So I think it's kind of like, we don't know how to qualify the expert.
And I think that's okay.
Right, so.
Right? I think that's up to us to look at, and to me, having financial expert as part of the appointment process gives us a litmus test whereby, I mean, a financial expert may be a director at a software company that's managed a budget of, $500,000, and understands staffing and budgeting and where the paper clips go and all that. That may be sufficient.
I think ours is we didn't want to limit people from thinking, oh, I'm not an expert, therefore not apply. That was our only, I know that was staff's comments, is that, we only have 2 applications. It's not like people are beating down our door to join some of these committees. So I don't want someone to read it and say, oh, I'm not an expert because I'm a small business owner of a dog biscuit making business and therefore I'm not a finance expert, when we know they have to set values and priorities and manage, I don't want to limit.
Is there a way to delineate that? I mean, just like you said, you're not ostracizing folks who
I don't-
would normally apply, and then other folks who Oh, and by the way, I mean, I guess I do remember the chair being a CPA when I was on there, but I mean, I don't. Given James's vision that he articulated to us on that, I don't necessarily know that it goes with what we want to do with it moving forward.
I mean, if that's your goal, change the name of it, right?
I was thinking the
And-
same.
and
'Cause it's a
remove
lot
the
of
name Finance
education.
and budget, because that's gonna scare off all the people that you just said. Because if I don't know anything about finance and budget, why would I even consider?
I guess
putting an
part of our,
application in?
and
Well,
I'll
if-
limit.
If you're
never
a
mind.
small business owner, you know something
You-
about budget.
Well, you could say
Clearly.
I agree.
financial
I agree.
experience instead of expert. I mean,
Yeah.
something like that.
It does soften it.
Yeah, it does. I like that.
I mean, that includes.
Yeah, no one will
yeah.
admit to being an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of liability, right?
Can you draw me seven
Seven
lines
parallel lines
Seven
that,
parallel-
that cross each other.
that cross each other?
Because
Yeah.
financial experience would also include it would include the business owner, but it would include the stay-at-home mom or dad who deals with all the finances in and out, and they make them feel like, they can contribute to the city as well. They do have financial experience, maybe. Throwing that out there, so. Ooh, got quiet.
No, because we are taking in your information, even though it's causing this meeting to go much further than my bet with Doug.
All right.
I thought you had it. Then I started talking.
So Jim, you like it, financial
Yeah,
experience?
I mean, if you
I
want,
like financial experience, I like that.
there we go. There you go. Merry Christmas.
Marie Christmas.
So motion, seeing I no, you pulled
You
it.
know what I mean?
I pulled it. You can move.
Motion to approve 4J, leaving the financial expert requirement intact, but modifying it to say financial experience. Is that where we're at?
Think
Well-
so. Think so. Are we still good on the outside counsel and consultant?
Yeah, I don't
Good?
think,
Okay.
I mean, what Serena's really saying is why are we trying to sue ourselves?
So we're taking out the financial expert part.
Yeah, making that
Well, we're
financial
changing it.
Are you okay with
experience.
Making it
Person
financial
with
experience.
financial experience.
Huh?
And then,
She's got
and
that
we're
look on her
moving that.
face, that's what it is.
I don't think any of our
worded different.
committees or boards have any budgetary authority. And so this is just making sure that this one doesn't.
Well, we also
said-
don't
you
require
said-
the other ones to be experts or have experience in their field.
Yeah, but we're also.
I'm
I'll
just,
second the
this
motion.
is the
But
one.
also, just like. we're
This
talking
one's
about-
kind of important.
But
I get
just-
it.
but yeah,
Trista.
and just like we're looking, I
I'll
mean,
second
it.
Equity
We can have
Commission is
discussion.
very different from, the other,
But like planning and
Getting
zoning, you
into
don't
the
require them to.
choppy area.
but I think. one of the
Maybe we
things
should
need
go
to
back
start-
and clean them up.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I think we may need to do that. This is all Serena's fault. She's the one who's told us
Doug's gonna throw a wrench in it.
to be better with our
I
appointments.
mean,
Oh, you don't like the consultants, do you?
no, I'm good with that. I'm fine with that.
okay.
Wait a minute,
Motion
you
carried.
agreed with that, and then I'm
didn't like
done. All right, I'm done.
It was the other party. It was the other party
I'm
who was
giving
upset
them
about.
the option to hire a consultant.
Are we
Oh,
at the end?
yeah, you did say that. I forgot about that. Yes, thank goodness for everybody involved.
Okay.
But I do think that your commentary about having some kind of financial expertise on the board
I heard a gavel.
is useful.
We're adjourned.